Hi there, and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. This is going to be a quick one because I'm mostly just matting and doing very minimal embellishing to the journaling that goes along with this layout that I did last week. This Take Me Away layout is on my channel. The process video for it is on my channel, and I have quite a lot of journaling to go along with this one. So I decided to create a 6x12 inch insert for it. I'm also going to use an insert here. This is just an 8.5 by 11 page protector, and it fits that little marketing card that I used on the other layout. I used it to get the title, the Sunnyside portion of the title of the Take Me Away to Sunnyside layout. And so I'm going to insert that as well. So this layout will basically have two inserts. There was a little bit of crud on my table that I had to just get rid of before I got started. Sorry about that. So I printed up this journaling on my printer, like on my computer. I just did it up in Pages, and it took me about an hour to journal all of this. I basically wanted to tell the story of why I decided to open my own practice, and because I was actually quite happy at the practice that I was at before, so a lot of people have been asking me, and I thought it was important to document this pretty major shift in my family, just for future reference. You know, my kids have heard me say this to other people, but I'm not sure if they'll necessarily remember why I made the change way back, you know, when this becomes ancient history. So I'm just actually going to show you what paper I use. So this is 110 pound cardstock from Staples, and it's fairly inexpensive, but it's very nice and smooth. This is my regular cardstock that I use for just doing drafts and stuff. It's only 65 pound. And so when I'm going to be printing up journaling to actually use on a page, I prefer to use the higher quality. So I do keep both of those cardstocks on hand in my home office, which is basically just a shelf that's in my scrapbooking room. Now I set the margins to 2.5 centimeters on either side. Wait a second, maybe that's 2.5 inches. Let me check. It is definitely 2.5 inches. 2.5 centimeters would have been very tiny for margins. So I basically just played around with it, and I turned on the rulers at the top so that I'd be able to just figure out a way to set up the margins so that the journaling would definitely fit within 6 inches width. So I have my two pieces of journaling there, which are nicely going to fit on both sides of a 6x12 inch insert. I have a Becky Higgins page protector already picked out to use for this, and it's nice that I have enough journaling to fit on two different sides, because I often struggle with filling the second side when I do these 6x12 inch inserts. I often, when I have a lot of journaling, will do a 6x12 inch insert. But then what ends up happening is when you turn the page, the other side is empty, and I don't necessarily have so much journaling to go with the following 6 or 12 by 12 page. And so I usually just put some nice paper inside the other side, because I often struggle with what to do with that. So you saw me just going through my black and white papers there. These are my 12-inch random papers that I have sorted into colors. So the papers that I don't store in collections, I store by color. And I keep black and white and gray all together. And so I just picked this piece of Tim and Beck gray paper because it picked up on the polka dots that were in the other page. I do have a video that shows how I store my paper, so I'll link that if I remember in a card in the top corner here. But for now, I'm just matting with this gray paper, and it's a bit of I don't know, like a shout out to that larger polka dot paper that mats the entire layout. That is kind of like the coordinating layout for this double-paged journaling insert. So I do really like this light blue paper, and it shows up on the other page, so I want to use this as my 6x12 inch background for both of these pages. So I'm just going to trim down two 6x12 inch pieces of that blue paper. And I think that will coordinate nicely. Basically, I don't want this to be like a 1.5 page spread. I want it to be like two separate pages. Sometimes I continue my journaling and make it into, like, I like to make it look much more coordinated so that they look like they're a 1.5 page layout, and that's usually what I call those, is 1.5 page layouts. And that would have involved using the same matting and the same background paper and having like a miniature version of the same page. This one is not going to take that approach. This one is just going to have some repetition of some of the elements. So I'm using this rounded tab punch by Stampin' Up. I did get a couple of questions about that on my last video. So it's the same punch I used on the Take Me Away layout. And I'm going to outline that punch once I get to it, or that shape once I get around to it, in gray, because it is outlined in the other page as well. So I just left the other page out so I could refer to it. Now I'm going to pull off a piece of this patterned paper. It brings in the red and the yellow and the light blue, which are colors that are the main colors of that other layout that I'm trying to coordinate with. And then in the other layout, I use this paper bag as a black and white element to add some contrast. I like to have something high contrast on each page that I make, whether it's a black mat around the photo, sometimes that's all that it is, but most of the time it's some type of high contrast black and white element, because I just adore black and white. So here are some of the die cuts that I picked out. I'm using the Fancy Pants, the Bright Side collection for most of the elements on this page. And those die cuts I picked out, they were kind of like the rejects from the last page. And so, that's kind of not a very nice way to talk about those cute little embellishments, is it? They were the die cuts that didn't make it to the page, but I still really like them. So as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, I'm not sure exactly how much room I'm going to have for any kind of embellishing on these pages, and I don't want things to look really crowded. I certainly don't want to embellish for the sake of embellishing. So I'm going to work on the paper layers for now, because I know that I want to use some paper layers. Now, I thought that Fly Free really worked well with my journaling because it's thematically fits. And so I'm going to try to incorporate those chipboard, all of those chipboard die cuts and all the embellishments that you see are from the Bright Side collection from Fancy Pants. Although that doily that I picked out to match, it kind of goes with the other page. One of those doilies shows up on the 12 by 12 page. That's from Doodlebug. And those word stickers that are up to the left of the screen right now, those are from Freckled Fawn. So I'm liking how this is looking, so I'm going to use my ATG to just glue down my journaling piece to that piece of patterned paper from the Bright Side collection, and just trying to work out where my tab will go. And the tab is out of the brighter yellow paper from that same collection. I really like it. I made it so that bright is showing. It's worded. It says the bright side all over it, or look on the bright side all over it. And so I'm just going to layer these a little bit differently than I did, I think, in the last layout. I'm basically combining the same elements, but they're going to come together slightly differently than they did in the other page. So I'm going to glue that black and white piece down. And I'm still trying to decide whether I'm going to continue that black and white piece and have it pop out the other side of that journaling. The piece itself wasn't long enough, but I can just cut it and make it look like it spread the whole width of that page. Now, this piece of paper here is also from the same collection. It is really pretty. It's got like loopy handwriting on it, and I really love that handwriting. So I'd like to use this. It does show up on the other page, so it's another repetition of that element. The paper itself wasn't cut very straight, and so I'm just going to try to trim it off to make it look a little bit more straight there. It doesn't have to be perfect because most of it is covered up. So I'm just every once in a while pulling over the other layout just to check and make sure that they're looking okay together. I cut that doily down, and I'm going to put Fly Free up there, and then the other part of the doily shows up behind the tab. And then just to pull in again another element from the other page is that gold heart sticker from the word stickers that I got the title from on the other page. So that looks pretty nice. I'm using that heart to just fill up that little blank spot on the doily that the Fly Free is leaving. And those are chipboard stickers from the Brightside collection, so they stick quite nicely down. They're quite sticky. And now I'm just thinking about whether I'm going to add some more embellishments on this side, just below the Fly Free title or subtitle or whatever. I thought about trying to incorporate my business card because it is a work themed layout, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get it on this page. So I'm thinking maybe I'll just wait and see if I can get it on the other page. I really liked how that little piece of red and white paper looked stuck in there, so I'm just going to leave it there for a few minutes, but ultimately it won't make it to the page. So I don't really know what else to do with this. It looks okay as it is, so I'm just going to leave it for now and maybe come back to it after I get the other page started, the other side of this page started. So I'm going to grab that rounded tab punch again, that's from Stampin' Up, and pull another, or punch out another tab. I'm going to grab that gray marker and just outline it again. That gray marker is a little bit too light, so I just double outlined it to make it a little bit darker. And I had another one of those Doodlebug doilies on hand, so I will pull that into this page as well. Now this time I'm going to use a smaller amount of this fairly busy print. I'm basically just going to want it to peek out a little bit on each side, whereas on the other page it's quite a large layer and a lot of it shows. And I was just feeling like the thing I didn't like about the other page was that it was a little bit too busy, so I thought I would try to make this page look a little less busy as a result. So you can only play around with these layers so much, and then you have to just kind of commit to starting to glue things down. So I'm getting close to that point right now. So let's put the pattern, the floral paper on, and then the last minute I decided to change the orientation of this envelope because I really like that pinked paper that shows up on one of the layers. It's kind of folded so that the pinked edge is showing, and it's tiny. You're only going to see a tiny bit of it, but I thought you might as well take advantage of that layered goodness and texture. So this doily will go behind all the layers, and I'll just use the whole one because it's easier to glue down that way. And again, I'm pulling the other page over because it's, and here I'm deciding, yeah, that is too busy. Now that I see the other page without the busyness, I'm really seeing that there had to be less of that floral paper on there. And I like that a bit more. Now I'm thinking about maybe using this as a little embellishment, but I'm thinking, no, that would be gratuitous embellishing, and I really didn't feel the need to do that. So I'm just thinking about how this page is going to go. I don't want it to be identical to the other page, but it's obviously going to end up looking quite a lot the same. And I could have done something completely different here, but I don't know why I decided to just do it this way, but I just did. This is my cheater method. I didn't have quite enough paper here, so I just cut it in half, and it looks like it spans the whole width there. I did have a full piece of it that I'm showing you there, but I just didn't want to break it up, cut up that full piece just for this little tiny bit when I had the option to just cut and do a little cheater method there. So I wanted to move up my journaling a little bit to make room for that chipboard piece. This is the chipboard piece that almost made it to the other page. It says Celebrate, and it's on a little banner. It's also from the Brightside collection, from the chipboard sheet that I have there. And this is a leaf from the same Take Me Away thickers that I used to make the title on the other page. So that kind of pulls in some of the gold on each of those 3 pages. And now there were these enamel dots. They're actually kind of like puffy stickers more than enamel dots, but they look a little bit like enamel dots. So I'm going to put them in 2 different places. So basically this place has the pop of yellow, but hardly any red. So I'm putting some red enamel dots on there. And then also the same kind of problem happens on this side. But then over here, I decided to add some yellow up to this corner where there was no yellow. And I also put some little yellow dots down by the banner, the chipboard banner. So here I am just showing you up close how these pages came together. So I just slowed this down so that you could see a little bit pardon me, how these layers look. And I'm pretty pleased with it. I mean, the one thing that I was thinking is that I could have put the tab and the little cluster of embellishments here on the second page. I could have put them over on the other side, like on the right side instead of on the left side, just for a little bit of variation. But it doesn't really matter. You're not going to see them at the same time anyways. And so I think it's fine the way it is. Again, it's one of those things that if I wanted to spend a whole lot of time on this, maybe I could have figured out a different way to do it, but my main objective here was to get this documented and in my album. So I'm just going to go with it the way that it is right now. I'm just showing you that I'm taking one of these 6x12 Becky Higgins page protectors, and I will slip these two layouts right back to back in it. And I just want to make sure that the front one is facing the front when the page protector is oriented the way that it'll be in my album. And so I'm just going to speed this up because you don't have to see all of this. But I do really like how this looks in the page protectors, and it gives you a better sense. I like when I'm doing double or 1.5 page layouts to just put them in the page protectors so that I get a sense of how they fit together and how they will actually look when a person is going through my album. So I am going to cut this down. I pulled out my rotary trimmer. I have hung on to my Fiskars rotary trimmer. It's the tabletop rotary trimmer from Michaels, and I've hung on to that one because I like having a rotary blade for cutting page protectors in particular, so I do pull it out for that. And I'm just trying to decide here where the two inserts will go, but I think I've decided to keep the little marketing pamphlet in between the other two pages that I've scrapbooked. So here are some close-ups. I really like how these layouts came out. They ended up being more similar than I wanted them to be or expected them to be to one another, but they do provide some nice contrast to the page that I designed them to go along with. So I'm pretty pleased with how it looks overall. Thanks so much for watching. Check out some of my other videos here. All of the process videos that I've done over the past 10 years are in the playlist listed below. Make sure you subscribe if you're new to my channel, and have a really great scrappy day.